You can hear someone's success and hate them for it, just have like a negative outlook at it. Or you can go in the room, hear someone's success, realize it's possible, and then believe in yourself and remove the limitation caps and be able to say, wow, I actually can make a difference and can do these things. Like if I really go for it and bet on myself.
Key lesson, I think, for people, especially with real estate investors, right? Like they look at short-term rentals as another asset, and it's just not. It's not an asset class. It's a business, right? And it's the hospitality business.
You said something interesting, and I want to touch on this, and I don't know if I misunderstood it or not, but you said you took out a loan from your truck to buy a property.
Yeah.
I want to make sure people hear this, because like everybody talks about like, oh, I have no money, I can't get started. How do I do it? And that's like as a creative way as it gets.
You're going to fail, okay, right? You're going to fail, but that's fine. You keep going, you fail forward. You're gonna have little failures, gonna have a lot of wins, but that's how you grow. The only way you're gonna fail is if you just stop.
Welcome to The Big Break Show, your go-to podcast for real estate investing, business acquisition, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, let's dive into Season 2 with your hosts, Rafa Loza and Dan Tollins.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Big Break Show, and we have another special in-person live episode for you, sitting here in the helm, ready to record. As always, my co-host, Mr. Dan Tollins.
Yes, sir.
What's up, brother?
Oh, man, living it.
Yeah.
Got a good group today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this place.
So today we got Dan Rivers and Mike Savage. And so we are here in, is it both of your places? Your place, like, let's talk about this place for a second.
Yeah.
Because this place is amazing.
Yeah, let's not give Mike credit on this. No, it's that's the helm. Both my partner, Whit McCarthy, Consistent Capital, and Dusty Keefe. Everybody, a lot of people know Dusty.
Right.
Of my partners on this building. And yeah, quick overview of this place. I'm glad you reminded me, Dan. We were talking a little bit before about when we bought this place 2.5 years ago. Finally opened up a couple months ago. It was just a shell, and we were actually going to rent half of it to a roofing company, just trying to supplement the income. Didn't really know exactly what we were going to do with it, and I'm glad we did. And now it's become an investor hub, co-working spot. I mean, we have almost 30 spaces here for co-working spots.
Yeah.
We have the podcast simulator room. We have the conference room, and we have a golf simulator room, which is the whole reason for this, so we can get away from our houses and play some golf.
That's right. I'd get work done. No.
You guys, some perspective, this is the second podcast we do in a separate part of the building, and we still get great background. So the third one might be in the golf room. We'll see.
That's right.
So guys, let's get into it. I'll take turns here. Whoever wants to go first, raise your hand. Doesn't matter to me, whatever you guys decide here. But tell everybody who you are, what you're about, what you do, and why you're on the show. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I get to go first?
Yeah.
All right. Dan Rivers. I like to call myself a girl dad first, but I am a real estate investor / agent, kind of do several different things. I've been in the real estate industry since 2005, believe it or not, just on the investment side, though, since 2019. And what do? We do 3 major areas at Rivers Capital Group. We have our retail real estate sales. We do we buy and renovate properties, some to hold and some to flip. And then our third area, me and my partner Mike right here, something I'm super excited about, is Synergy Stays. And we do luxury short-term rental management, but even more importantly, we do revenue management.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah, Mike Savage. So I was with the City of Charleston Fire Department for 8 years. And truthfully, kind of just organically fell into real estate as my wife and I moved around, just held on to properties, right? So I wasn't really intentionally investing at first. And once I did start that, kind of did a little bit of everything, some flips, some burrs. But over time, really narrowed myself down to short-term rentals. I love hospitality. And even more so than that, as Dan alluded to, we started Synergy Stays really as a all-encompassing, like high-end property management company for short-term rentals. And now we've even narrowed that down even more. Now we're really specializing in revenue management, which has been really fun and exciting, and just so fitting with where we are in the short-term rental sphere today.
Yeah.
As you know, Rafa, how competitive things have gotten.
Oh, 100%. So I'm glad you guys are both here together today. So we're going to dive into each other and each of yours backgrounds and a little bit of your investing. And then we're going to dive into Synergy Stays and the revenue management. Because obviously I want everybody to know what it's about and how they can get better at revenue management. Mm-hmm. Let's give some tips and tricks for the viewers and listeners. So tell us a little bit about the background, how you got started in real estate, from like out of with college, high school, like 9 to 5, like how did that look? And then we'll go to you.
Yeah. So the real estate world, it's kind of funny. You know, life kind of works in mysterious ways. I was out of college, 2004, moved down to Tampa, Florida, and was working at Wendy's as a manager. Got into a pretty bad motorcycle accident, snapped my leg in half, so I couldn't stand on my feet anymore. So I ended up getting a job at a bank just to kind of pivot. I know it's kind of weird. Just got into banking. And one day I was doing a home equity line of credit for a guy from Boston, happened to be from Boston, down in Clearwater. And at the end of the transaction, he was just like, "Hey, I really like the way you do business. You seem like a good person. You want to, manage properties. You want to do some property management." I mean, I'm 24 years old. I was like, I didn't even know what that really meant. But I'm like, sure, I'll take a look at it. At that point, I was kind of thinking about going for my Series 6 and 7 and going into financing and wealth management there, or was it real estate? And I decided to give real estate a shot. And that's where like the real estate journey started on that front. Funny part is like first day on the job, never did property management. He's like, "Oh, by the way, here's 16 properties, including high rises on Clearwater Beach, totaling, I don't know, some like 800 units." I was like, all right. So I had to learn by fire. So real quickly, I had to figure out how to manage properties. I needed to know financials, condo docs, managing projects, contractors, insurance. But it's funny because it was trial by fire, but I learned so much about real estate that fast forward to 2018-19 when I came here in Charleston, and now I'm real estate sales and investor. That background has really helped me succeed in my industry and be like 10 steps ahead of anybody else that would be starting from scratch at that point. So.
And let's talk about a little bit about the trials and hardships you went through with these 800 management units. Now, I want to dive into that really quickly before we get to your story. Like, what was it? What was like the hardest? What did you have to learn? Like, what made you get better at it? How did you overcome it? All that.
Yeah. So first things first is 24, 25 years old, and I'm sitting trying to direct boards of trustees, directors, members, whatever you want to call them, depending on the documents. And these are especially high-rise condominiums. So people sitting on these boards are multi-millionaires. And I'm trying to tell them how to properly manage their asset, just learning how to do it. So one thing, and I preach this all the time, is like, how do you overcome being a rookie or a newbie at something? It's knowledge. It's knowing as much as you can about your craft. And that's what I did. I wanted to know bylaws, HOA documents. I wanted to know, like I said, budgeting and how to read a financial thoroughly. I wanted to know, all the ins and outs when it comes to property management, so that when I sit in front of that board and they're like, "Who is this kid?" and I drop knowledge, they need to start listening. They understand and they start to respect me. And that's what truly helped me grow, was knowing as much and building my knowledge base.
So the reason why I wanted to ask is because a big part of the show is mindset.
Yep.
And so for someone who's in a good job, in a good position, I'd like to get into the psychology of like, why did you all of a sudden say, "Hey, I could do something," but specifically something you've never done before? And what made you go, "Hey, I think I can knock this out. Let me go try this"?
Yeah. I'll go back a little bit in my life. In 1996, 16 years old. Long story short, sprained my ankle, picked up a murmur, had my first heart surgery. Ended up having another one in 2009. But my point of that is, my mindset has always been, I shouldn't be here right now. Like, I'm lucky to be here on this earth. When I was 16, it kind of caused more hate than anything. I was like very angry in life and angry. But as I grew into my early 20s and mid 20s, and now, it's given me appreciation of life. And I don't know if it's just because of that, but I get bored if I stay stagnant too much. I like challenging myself, throwing myself into situations that are kind of difficult to figure out, and proving to myself that I can succeed. And so I think that was a big part of it. Like, I'm just, he told me this is what you can do. It was new, it was cool, it was exciting. And why can't I do it? Like, I sat in a room and I saw all the other property managers at this company, and I listened to them talk, I hear them speak, and I'm like, I could be that person. There's nothing wrong with them. But I'm like, I know that if I study and I work hard, I could beat out that person. And not in like a competitive way where I have to be better than them, but I know that I could be the best version of myself and be successful in this industry.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And briefly, how did you go from managing into actually you investing in real estate?
So anybody who's in property management knows it can burn you out after a while.
Oh, yeah.
And this is condominium management. People own their units, or HOA management. And we all heard about the Karens and HOAs and condos. It is true. And so it just burnt me out after a while. And then bottom line is I was working for a company that I helped build and grow, to 2 to 3 times its size. It was a smaller company. We blew up from like 2,200 units to over 6,000 units. And then a big company came in and bought us, and we just weren't on the same page. I'm a people person. I want to deliver great quality service, and they were strictly numbers. So I was just coming home every night. Quite honestly, I'd never even smoked weed in college. I was smoking weed every night just to like mellow my head out, forget things. And I just needed to just I don't know, just take a break. And my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, amazing person, she just saw me burning out, and she just like, I support you. If you just want to quit, go try something else. So long story short, I did. I sold concrete and masonry products for 1 year. Good friend of mine sold about 1.2 million, helped his company out. And then she looked at me one day. She's like, hey, I want to move out of Boston. Let's move somewhere else. We picked Charleston, and we literally just both quit our jobs, moved down here. And I asked her, I said, hey, I really want to sell real estate now. I love real estate. I just don't want to manage it right now. And she's like, go for it. I believe in you. She found a job. I started selling real estate. So that's how I got into real estate sales. And then I'll get to the point of, I know other people tell the story from different angles, but there was a breakfast meetup at 60 Bull Cafe every Wednesday morning. I forget what morning it was. So I decided to go one day, and I'm at this breakfast meetup, and I meet Kelly Garrett. I meet Danny Randazzo. I meet these powerhouses in 2018. I didn't even realize at the time how powerful they were, talking about these multi-million-dollar ideas and what they're going to do in life and how they're going to, be billionaires one day. And I was from the corporate mindset this whole time. I'm from like this limited mindset because that's what you grow up with. And then I'm sitting around these people that are thinking so big. It got me so excited. I just really believed in myself. And I'm like, I'm going to sell real estate, but I'm going to be an investor too. Mm-hmm. Like if they're doing this and I could be in a room with these people, I'm going to take a chance on myself and start investing as well.
Gosh, I love that. What are we talking about, dude?
Yeah, proximity, man.
Yep.
Always. Appreciate you sharing that. All right. Did you jump into management at 800 doors?
No. Halfway for me. Dan shared some of his struggles along the way. And for me, I would say my struggles kind of happened right off the bat. So I graduated in 2006 with a business degree and focus in marketing. And the first job that I got, so also funny enough, Dan and I are both from the Boston area originally. Now we're down here in Charleston. You probably hear his accent more than you do mine. But so up in the Boston area, and my first job out of college was with WBCN, which is a very iconic radio station in Boston. It's where Howard Stern made his name. And I got a job there in sales in 2006. 2006 is when Howard Stern left and went to Sirius Radio and started his own thing. And it was like walking into a funeral. Like, we went from just being the highest rated radio station where like everybody wanted to be to like everybody's just pulling out their marketing. So I was there for about 6 months, and I was like, this isn't going anywhere. So next, I decided that I still enjoyed the sales process, wanted to go there. So I decided it would be cool to get into mortgages in 2007. And as you know, so likewise, I was there for about 6 months, and same thing. I just saw all these experienced mortgage brokers just leaving. Like I got there with full desks around me, and then I felt like I was the last person sitting. So at that point, I was definitely like a little just like disillusioned and just like, what am I doing? Commuting in out of Boston and just these long days. Just searching for some purpose. And that was when I actually decided, like, honestly, out of the blue, like, I want to be a firefighter. I just started like hanging out at my local fire station, talking to guys like, this is what I want to do. So starting the journey there, that took a couple of years and continued to work some like sales jobs on the side, but got my EMT, did some call firefighting up there. And then Charleston, I came down to Charleston to become a full-time firefighter, actually. And so my first foray into real estate, truthfully, was just as like a supplement. Like, I was a firefighter, my wife was and still is a teacher, and I was like, this isn't going to get us through retirement, so I'll get into some real estate, supplement with that. I bought my first property here in North Charleston, a 3-bedroom off Rivers Avenue, which is not a great area. It was $49,000. And again, I was a firefighter, my wife's a teacher. I had to take out a $10,000 loan against my truck for 20% down payment for that property. But that, and that's where the good fortune just kind of started for me. Again, this is now 2014, 2015. And things just snowballed. So we moved to Mount Pleasant, originally bought a house there. decided in the same year, 2015, that we were going to move downtown where we both worked. Held on to that house and made the decision there. Like, I don't know why. There was only one that I even knew of in the area around us on Airbnb. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And yeah, this is 2015. People really weren't doing it much then. People thought it was like crazy. Like, you're going to do what? Like, you're going to rent a house by the day, by the night.
Yeah.
But I did it. And that just really started everything, because before long, like, that property was basically matching my fire department salary. So that was like kind of eye-opening. And then another struggle, Dan shared, like, for me, I loved what I was doing with the fire department, but they changed our pay plan at one point, and it was like a 5% pay reduction. But with what we were making, like, that stung. Like, it was like painful to know that they could do that to me and my family. So that was when I was kind of like, okay, like, it's time to go out and do this myself. So yeah, I started doing some flips, did some burrs, doing a little bit of everything, and kind of like came full circle. Got tired of dealing with contractors, and made my way through it, but realized like this is not fun. But I still had that short-term rental. I was like, I love doing this. Like, I love dealing with guests and interacting and hospitality. So really started to double down there, added some more properties that I was doing short-term rentals with, and then got to a point, you probably relate, Rafa, like, okay, I'm investing so much time and energy into these systems and processes and things just to save my own time, my own business. Like, why not scale this and just do it for others? Like, I put all that upfront, time in upfront. And that's where Dan came in. Like, I can't pinpoint when, but I've always just loved the word synergy. Like, I love the concept of it, right? Like, the idea that there are just certain situations where you can take like two forces or two people, whatever it might be, and like, when you bring those together, like, it creates a force that's more than just the addition. It actually like compounds it. It's like a multiplication effect. And Dan kind of fit the bill. Like, again, he shared his experience. I brought a lot of short-term rental specific expertise, but his just depth of knowledge in real estate in general and in operations and all that, like, kind of just combined forces, and the rest is history.
So we'll touch on that in a second. I want to take it back to the firefighter thing, and this has nothing to do with investing, but I'm curious about this because I had a buddy, and I was going to become a firefighter when I was in college, and I dropped out really fast because it was like a 4-year wait list to become a firefighter out there, and they're like, "Oh, you have to move to another state." I was like, "It's funny." I think I might have told you the story, Dan, about how he's like one of my best friend's cousin went through the process, and they're like, "You have to move to North Carolina," and I was like, "What did you go to North Carolina for?" I was like, "What the hell are you doing over there? Like, you're gonna be putting out trees and stuff." I was like, "I'm good." And now I'm out here, right? So fun story. But like, is that like a trending thing with firefighters, where like wherever you go to study and try to apply within that town, or is it just like town specific, where like they send you to different locations?
So I left out a little bit, but yeah. So again, I started the process up in Massachusetts, and same thing. It's a different process up there. It's a civil service. You got to take like a statewide test, and I did that. I went and got my paramedic just to like improve my credentials, but also just kind of coincidentally, like, nothing had happened there yet, and my wife hated the cold, and we were just ready for a change. We actually moved to Charlotte briefly. She got a teaching job there, so she brought us down there. I got a job at Whole Foods, was full-time there, continued to just like apply for fire department positions in the region. We actually visited Charleston. We're like, fell in love with it. We're big on like visualizing and making things happen. So I remember we like made, what's it called, like these vision boards.
Yeah, vision board.
It had it on a fridge, and it was like all about Charleston. Like, someday we're gonna retire here. And then like within 6 months, sure enough, I got a call from the Charleston Fire Department. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting field, just where the demand is. And
it's funny, you almost went to North Carolina also, and now you're in South Carolina, right? So okay, fast forward to you said something interesting, and I want to touch on this, and I don't know if I misunderstood it or not, but you said you took out a loan from your truck to buy a property. Yeah. So that, and I want to make sure people hear this, because like everybody talks about like, oh, I have no money, I can't get started. How do I do it? And that's like as a creative way as it gets. Like, everybody has some sort of equity. Well, not everybody, because our cars depreciate like crazy. Talking about my car, right? Down, jeez. But I bought a electric car, and it depreciated almost like 75% in like 12 months. Don't buy electric cars.
Wow.
Nobody wants to buy these things. So anyway, side story. That's very creative, because like a lot of people are like, I have no money. I don't know how to start. I can't.
Yeah. I had to pay.
What happened, man? Let's talk about this.
I had paid cash for it originally. Like, we spent a lot of money after our wedding and all that. So I just remember out, bought the truck, paid cash, and yeah.
Sure, but what triggered hey, I can borrow 10K from the truck to start a
I
property?
don't remember, honestly. I just went to the bank and was like, hey, can I, you don't think of like that, like taking out a loan after the fact on a vehicle, but
Nobody
then,
does.
right? As long as it's got value, they'll give you a loan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was able to do that. And then similarly, like that was the first little piece. And then again, we had that house in Mount Pleasant. Took out a HELOC on that before we moved downtown while it was still our primary residence. And that was like a theme for me. Like I learned that lesson quickly, like always tap into that while we had the opportunity. And so that line of credit is what allowed me to start like flip my first property and get into it. Same thing. Like I've had HELOCs on multiple homes because we happened to got a house hack and hop around. So having that available was huge because I didn't know about hard money and all that at the time. Like I just thought I had to come up with it myself, right? Like or go through traditional lending through a bank. And actually, like Dan, so now I'm in Park Circle, and when I first moved there, he mentioned the breakfast meetup, but I started going to REI Central, which at the time was at Common House Brewery before it got bigger and moved downtown. And that's where I say names, Kelly Garrett and Dusty and Russ, and that's where I was able to really start to build momentum and realize, like, the capital that's available that's out there. Like you alluded to, Rob, like, it's so funny. You get into the business thinking like money's the biggest challenge, but it's, in my mind, I mean, you have to make the numbers work, but it's the easiest thing. There's always money there. I mean, you have to, again, make the math work, but like that's the easiest thing to find is the money.
Yep. I agree. 100%.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, the HELOC was, again, having the right people around you, but that was how we were able to get one of the great houses we had here in Charleston. I was talking with Caleb Pearson. I was like, hey, we got this great deal. We just don't have the cash to buy it. And he's like, well, get under contract. We're going to go get you a HELOC on the house that you have. You got all this equity. You use that for the down payment and then go from there. And that was exactly how it worked for us. And then house hacked for a little while and made an exit and moved on to the next thing. So
And it's cheaper than hard money too. That home equity credit interest rate's a little cheaper.
Yeah, a lot cheaper. It was like 3% or something back then. But yeah, money's a little bit more expensive now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the REI Central, we were talking with Kelly about just how, I mean, it's a very abnormal group that's here in Charleston. Us moving to Wilmington, we've tried a few different groups. But that's, part of why we moved there was to help it progress from what it currently is to maybe something one day that Charleston is now. So, but yeah, it definitely moves the needle for you a lot faster. Whatever your problem is, you can usually get that solved on the first Thursday of the month, if not sooner.
That's the cool thing about here. Being in, well, just to go on the mindset route, if that's all right, is like being in the rooms with people. It's not even, it's the connections. It's, you got all the who's in one room, but it's also, you could do this one of two ways. You can hear someone's success and hate them for it and basically mirror, if you're unsuccessful and just hate someone that's successful and like just have like a negative outlook at it. Or you can go in this room, hear someone's success, realize it's possible, and then believe in yourself and just, remove the limitation caps that school and society puts on us over the, first 20 years of our life. And be able to say, wow, I actually can make a difference and can do these things. Like me and my team, just a side note, like we're struggling on fast money for the last 6 or so months. And this is going to sound crazy, but it's like, we do real estate, we do all these things. All of a sudden we're like, all right, we got 30 grand here, 40 grand here, 50 grand here. We're not a big business that does, we just figured out ways to make 30 grand here, 40 grand here, because we've been doing it enough through our connections, through our ability to analyze deals and see opportunities. We're able to start creating the fast cash so that when our mid and long-term money comes in, we can now pay the bills during it. But the point of it is, rewind 5 years ago, before I'm in those rooms, before I'm around those people, I wouldn't even believe in myself, Billy. The most I made it was great. I made 140 grand, I think, is a salary in business, which I think is great. There's no like, whatever you make, whatever you do, as long as you're happy in life. But like, I didn't realize, hey, I could do that in one deal if I really go for it and bet on myself. And yeah, you could lose it too. There's a risk involved, but like, I'd rather bet on myself than someone I don't know that I work for that could lay me off at any moment.
Right.
Like, to me, I mean, and again, there's no wrong way or right way. W-2 may be safer in a lot of ways, but the point I'm saying is like, holy crap, what you can do if you believe in yourself and you're around these people and you're around people who believe in themselves.
Yeah.
If you absorb it and take it the right way and don't look at it from a negative lens, look at it from like a positive lens.
I want to touch on that really quick. I was talking to I don't remember who was talking about this a couple of days ago, and they were talking about like focusing on the negative side of it, and they're like, hey, like, what if I fail at something, or what if I do something that's going to be bad for it? And I was like, well, why don't you look at it the positive side, and what if you get really good at it and you succeed at it? Why don't you focus on the good side? I bring this up because I was on that Tony Robbins thing too, and they had a speaker. I just did a business mastery thing for 5 days.
Oh, cool.
So they had a speaker on there, and the guy was like, if you, like where you go, energy flows, or what you focus on is what's going to happen, or whatever that term is, right? And he says the exact same thing, and I was like, oh my God, I've heard this like 5 times in like the last week, where we're trained to focus on the negative of things. We're just trained that way. Like, you don't jump because what if you get hurt? Right? You don't dive because what if you drown? Like, it's all the bad stuff that we're focusing on, right? And the idea here is, well, I won't start or jump into this business because, like, what if I don't succeed? And like, what if I lose the money I invested? Yeah, dude. But what if you do succeed? And what if you do come out on top? Like, how is that going to change your life, right? Like, people need to start focusing on the good side of that. And again, where the energy goes, it's like water. I forget the saying, but where attention goes, energy flows, or whatever it is that they say. Yeah. And if you focus on good, odds are the good's going to come out of you, right? And what if you fail? Sure, you're going to fail, but what did you learn? You do it again, and now you know what not to do, so that you succeed. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's all persistence. It's you're going to fail. I'm going to look at it, right. You're going to fail, but that's fine. You keep going. You fail forward. You're going to have little failures. Going to have a lot of wins, but that's how you grow. I mean, we've had struggles. I've messed up plenty of times. We can have 5 episodes on all my screw ups, and how I've lost money and how I've made dumb mistakes. And as long as you take ownership, you show humility, humbleness, which is on my board inside my office, and you're willing to grow from it and have your team grow from it, you will succeed. It's just, you got to persist. You might fail, and then succeed after 5 years. It may take you 2 years. It may take you 6 months. The only way you're going to fail is if you just stop. If you just keep going and learn and humble and learn from yourself, like, you will be successful. And that's a mantra I truly go by. It's like, that's fine. We'll just keep making adjustments and tweaking until we're successful.
I also my mindset share that I wanted to make, which is exactly that, right? Like you said, if you don't try, you might succeed, first of all. But even if you do fail, like, we all have or most of us have this mindset, like, we're here or we achieve this despite our failures, but like, I believe we're here because of our failures, right? Like, and Dan followed up on that, like, that's when we learn and grow, when we fail. And we don't learn and grow much when we're having success, truthfully. Yeah. I think we all know that. I mean, it's nice to be in those times, but
you actually get cocky.
Failure's valuable. Like, and don't, it can be tough in the moment, but like, so often you're going to look back and realize, like, you're where you are because of your failures.
Well, you can take it down to the simplest form. I've heard this example a million times, where, like, when we're babies and you fall, you're failing every time you fall. Like, if none of us ever learned from that, we'd all be crawling right now. You know what I mean? 4 years later. Like, that's the simplest form. Like,
so true, though.
Yeah. 100%. So, I know you had some questions.
No, I want to get into kind of the nuts and bolts of what you guys, are doing together. Kind of who's doing what part of it, and how, you guys have got, some good chemistry, obviously, that has brought you all together, and how you're trying to maximize your efforts and create more revenue for yourselves and for your clients.
Yeah, I'll get us started. First off, I think one of the, we could talk about failures, but I've had some partnerships in JV that didn't work, didn't align on values, didn't align on a lot of different things, and learned from that pretty quickly. Like, I'm all about piece of a watermelon is better than 100% of a grape. However, it's got to be the right watermelon that I'm eating. So, and I've learned that the hard way. But knowing Mike, and I've known Mike now for a few years, just who he is as a person, a family man, someone who cares about values, someone who cares about his integrity, his word, but not just about money. At the end of the day, we do care about money. I mean, we want to make money because money buys us time. But his values, his who he is as a person aligns. So first off, I just want to say, if you want to go into business with someone or work with someone, just make sure that that truly aligns. And Kelly used to say this all the time, you date the person for a little bit to make sure that's someone that you want to be in business with. And I've made the mistake of not doing that. So I just want to start off there, and then to see, I know my skill sets. I can help market. I can help sell if I believe in something. I can build relationships. I see opportunities. And talking with Mike, I see him as someone who he won't probably say this about himself, but he's a leader in this industry when it comes to understanding short-term rental management and maximizing revenue. Like, he's really good at it because I think he really enjoys it. So it makes himself good at it. And I see that and I'm like, wow, I get someone who's super powerful that just needs someone with a gas can to throw it on the fire. So I'm basically the can of gas, he's the fire, and I'm just trying to throw it on it and really help other people maximize their revenue, because short-term rental management really is two areas. You got the hospitality, the customer service, the taking care of the property, and then you have maximizing your revenue. And there's software out there where you can, and I'm not going to even pretend to know the details. This guy knows everything, talk for hours on it. Bottom line, there's software out there, Price Labs, software, you could set it, forget it, do pretty well. It'll adjust. But this guy on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, just the way he looks at the property and does the tweaks, and it's a big formula of balance between occupancy and the daily rates and all that stuff. And it's just balancing that properly for each property and making slight adjustments. And he's just so good at that. So basically, I'm in here to help with the marketing, the sales, back-end automations, make things about as easy as I can on him so that he can do what he's good at. And that's overseeing the luxury properties that we manage, and then also just maximizing the revenue.
You want to touch on what he was saying on your part? I know, and trust me, I know revenue management is a full-time job. Everybody's probably thinking, why do we need somebody to do revenue management, right? It goes through my head sometimes, and we're about to start working together, right? Mm-hmm. And so give me a few key examples. And I bring this up because, number one, everybody thinks that it's you put it on Price Labs or use Wheelhouse or some of these, even Airbnb, I think, is trying to do their own management, which don't do Airbnb people. But or even the Airbnb website now does their dynamic pricing, right? And so a lot of people think it's set it and forget it. And I'm even, I do that for my business too sometimes. I set it and forget others' words, forgetting English here. And so
complacent.
Yeah, complacent I do that sometimes. I get complacent and I'm okay, I'll look at it later, right? And I forget about it. And then later I go, oh my God, I went vacant 17 days because I forgot about it for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And so luckily I have economies of scale. So I do good and do bad in other areas, stuff like that, but it's still not a good way to manage. So let's talk about, let's get into it actually. Let's go into the weeds. What is, let's talk about
I'll start a little bit higher level and a quick share. For me, revenue management really came about as a necessity. I shared already how I left the fire department. And I joke, although it's not a joke, people ask, how'd you leave your job? Well, when you're making the money that I made, it wasn't I knew that I could replace that doing anything. Unfortunately, that was the case. But nonetheless, that was my salary, my livelihood, right? So for me, again, my main cash flow at that point was my short-term rentals, and I had been using property managers, and I'm not going to throw any names. I used some of the bigger companies, the national companies, and they were just terrible all around. And I kind of narrowed down and was working with someone local, and they ran it well, right? The day-to-day, the cleaners, the turnovers, the guests were happy. But again, I was now at this point where I came in and said, hey, can we make more money out of this? How are we doing compared to the market? How are we doing compared to our competitors, in the neighborhood? And they just didn't have those answers. So that kind of set me on my own search to figure this stuff out. I didn't think that it was going to become what it is today. But revenue management, so many people, as you stated, just think it's a Price Labs or a Wheelhouse or a pricing tool. And those are huge, right? Those are a great tool, but that's all they are, is a tool. I kind of liken it to, we go to a doctor, we go to a general practitioner, right? We go and they do our annual physical. And if we have little things throughout the year, they know a little bit about everything. And if you're an owner operator or if you're property manager for short-term rentals, you're that general practitioner, right? Like Rafa, you are. Like you have to oversee everything at some level, and you have to know something about everything. But if we have, issue with our head or with our brain, we want to go to a neurologist, right? Or if, like, God forbid, we have cancer or things, a concern there, like we want to go to an oncologist. That's how we have to look at revenue management. I liken this to like hospitality, and that's again where I started from and where most people start from. But like to me, that's a choice, and I don't want to take away from it. Like some people are much better at it than others, but like it's a choice to respond to your guests like right away, right? Like instead of making them wait, whether it's an inquiry or whether they have an issue, like it's a choice to speak to them a certain way and make them feel good and treat them a certain way. Like hospitality is a choice, but revenue management, it's a skill. You can't just decide to do it. You need to learn how to do it.
I love that.
And this is where, as Dan knows, I hate to go too far because I can talk for hours.
That's why we're here.
But yeah, like there's just so much more to it. So like let's start like with understanding the cycle, right, with our guests. Like so they're going on, they're doing a search. Our first concern is what's our visibility? You probably have the same because of the volume that we do. We have access to like an Airbnb manager that gives us some really great in-depth reports. And like one of the things that I'm most proud about or excited about is like our listings, and it's from the July report most recently, had an average of I think 19,000 and change views. And our comp set, which again we're not defining this, Airbnb is telling us, they were at like 10,000. Like we were 86% higher in views than our competitors, and people don't realize that. Like they just think I'm on there, right? But like that's where we start to really look at search rank. How are you showing up? Like most people aren't going to go more than 1 to 3 pages deep. If you're buried further down there, like
good luck.
Yeah. So the goal, or to be on page 1, and we track that with all of our listings and our client listings, and then it's conversion, right? Like so, it's click throughs, and again, we dominate our competition there. Like it's having that hero photo, as we call it, that first picture that's going to capture people's attention. That's the goal of that first picture, right? Now they click into your listing. Now we need to make sure all the content is there to essentially sell them and conversion to a booking. And that's a whole process, and there's different things that we have to look at and analyze for each of those steps to be successful, to move them through that funnel. It's just so much more complex, I think, than most people would realize.
Yeah, I mean, let's use another analogy here, right? Like you can't set and forget. For example, if you go and turn on the hose and you leave the hose on the trees, I just did this the other day. Now you're going to overwater this thing. Odds are you're going to drown everything. Same concept here. You have to be there and manually kind of tweak the prices, and otherwise, again, set, forget, and you screw it up. Pricing's not going to get done right. The algorithm's not going to know what's good in your market, right? It might be pricing out of 40 units, and some might be getting blocked off because of direct bookings, and it thinks that the algorithm starts to, price different things, and you look at it in a deeper level, right? So, I mean, why revenue management, dude? Like data analytics, I'm like, oh my God, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I have always considered, and still do, consider myself to be much more of a qualitative person than a quantitative person. Like, I mean, Dan will tell you, I also love the aspect of, designing a home and going into a home and figuring out, I mean, I'm not an interior decorator, but it's still like just, creating that experience. That's another key lesson, I think, for people. It's, especially with real estate investors, right? Like they look at short-term rentals as another asset. And it's not an asset class. It's a business, right? And it's the hospitality business. So like from your photography to how you're presenting it, like some people will use the similar photography or like descriptions, like it's a listing on MLS, like they're trying to sell a home. Well, someone who's looking to buy a home is looking for something completely different than someone who's looking to book a home for a vacation or for a stay. We're selling an experience. They don't care about, the updated appliances necessarily. I mean, those things are all nice. They're going to make your listing look good. I'm not saying those things don't matter, but they don't care about your granite countertops and your appliances. Like they want to know like what's going to happen. What's their experience going to be there? And we have to sell that to them, right? Through our description, through our words that we choose, and through our pictures even, and our photography.
Yeah. So kind of words that you choose. Are you guys automating anything or using AI for any of that? Chat GPT or some of these other?
100%. Like I consider myself a really strong, so I have a marketing background, I'm a strong writer, but still like it's just incredible. And I'm still truthfully mastering it because I've realized like it's one thing to just go in Chat GPT and deliver a prompt, but the real power is when you know how to continue to refine what they give you. Like, I can go in and say, give me a Airbnb or a vacation rental description for X home and has these bedrooms and stuff, and I'll spit something out. And I can be like, please make this description more emotive. I want the guest to understand how they're going to feel, and like they can, right? So you can fine tune what they're giving you, and the ability to think about those things and give those prompts is powerful. We use AI. We also use it for a lot of our guest communications now, which is pretty cool. It can really learn and mimic even our tones. And just that redundant information that guests might ask. We have guidebooks and, of course, all that information, but guests still ask questions, as you know, and it saves us a lot of time and energy, and doesn't seem to affect the guest experience. It's funny, like I look at some of our reviews, and like, this host was so great, the communication, they were always talking to us, how like, in my mind, I'm like, we weren't even,
Wasn't even us.
Yeah. It wasn't us. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. What tools are you guys using, like, for communication and stuff like that?
Yeah, so our primary PMS or property management software is Hostfully.
Okay.
I like that because it allows for so many different integrations. I spent so much time and energy demoing all the different softwares and stuff, and none of them are perfect. Like, I learned that, like, you really just have to determine what's most important to you and deal with the shortcomings of whatever one you choose. You're never going to find the perfect one, and they're always constantly evolving. Like, one that might not have some small feature that you want 6 months down the road, it probably will. But so we use Hostfully. We use Price Labs for our pricing software. Host AI is the communication software that we're now using. That's very new. Rank Breeze we use to track position the ranking of our listings. Still learning how to use that a little bit. It offers some optimization suggestions and stuff as well.
I used to mess with it quite a bit. It's changed a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things, though, and I know Mike probably won't touch upon this as much either, is just like in any business, you got to continue to be learning, continue to adapt, and continue to grow. I mean, I think that's so important. And that's something that we work well with together because that's always on my mind. So I'm always like, the real estate market, how it's turned recently, and sales and all this stuff. Oh, all right, what do we pivot? How do we become the best? How do we master what's going on now? And we can kind of work off each other with that, whether it's systems, whether it's the AI, whether it's, but even further from that, the reason why I think we've been so successful in outpacing the market, last month, what was it, 20%? We outpaced the market by 20%.
Occupancy. We typically outproduce when we're in 5 or 6 different markets, and across all markets, we're usually right around 20% at least.
Right around 20%. Most of our revenue management clients, we've given them 100 to 400 times their return on what they pay us for revenue management versus what they're receiving. But a big part of that is one of the things Mike does is he's in all these masterminds, all these groups around these people that are always talking about what they're doing, how they're tweaking things, how they're fine tuning their systems so that we can continue to be the best and continue to grow at this. And just like, you were talking about, not only just set it, forget it, doesn't work because it's easy to just kind of miss things. It's also, if you're not continuing to make these little adaptations or continue to adjust or continue to learn, that set it and forget it 3 months from now could be way further behind than just set it and forget it because you haven't made those little pivots and adjustments in what the market's telling us we need right now or what the data is telling us we need right now. And I think that, to me, that's such a huge part and why we've been successful and why we'll continue to be successful, because we will stay humble and continue to realize we're not the best at everything and keep putting ourselves in these rooms and growing. And, me on my side of the deal and him on the, the market analysis and understanding short-term rentals and revenue management. So I think that, anybody who's listening to this and wants to grow their short-term rental division or build their own management company or just stay in these rooms, continue to grow, be humble, learn, but continue to be open to adapting and adjusting what you're doing.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons, masterminds. We talk about this every episode. But one of the reasons why I stay in it is because I like to keep up with what's happening, what people are doing, things that are going well. Otherwise, you're not going to learn anything, exactly what you said. So it's a big deal. And then, actually, I am curious, going back to the pricing strategy, can you give a couple tips and tricks for people listening out there that maybe can't do it yet, or, they're just getting started. Or
Yeah,
want to consider
100%.
it,
Actually, I had an example that I was a fictitious example that I was going to use, and interesting enough, like a booking came in for us a couple hours ago, which fit my example, so I'll actually use that. We had a booking come in like 3 hours ago. Now this is like a Class C unit, nothing special, just like a little 1-bedroom unit. So don't get too caught up in the ADR that the rate that I referenced. But the booking, this is the important part. The booking was for Sunday through Thursday in September, and so that's one thing that's so important for people to look at and think about. And this is where like your price labs and stuff, it can't do this for you. Like, think about a month, a calendar, picture it like, let's make it easy. There's 30 days, you have 30 units to sell. It's great to have the right pricing for all those different days, but it's also important to understand, like, as bookings come in, the value of those days is changing, right? Like, so for example, say, right, when your calendar is wide open, that's like optimal because anybody that's looking for any combination of days can book. Say now we have a booking for Sunday to Tuesday and then a Friday, Saturday booking. Like that Tuesday to Friday, you have to realize that those days are now kind of devalued because they can't be paired with like a weekend booking, for example, right? So one good tip, this one that just came in, again, the Sunday to Thursday. So we understand that, again, in this market, but it's certainly in any market, weekends are in much more high demand, right? And we're kind of in shoulder season here in Charleston now. But weekdays, like market occupancy, and when I say weekdays, I'm going to use Sunday through Thursday. Those are, our non-prime days, but Friday and Saturday are. Occupancy might be 40 to 50%, say, probably closer to 40% for those days. So we know just based on market data that we're probably going to, statistically speaking, book 2 of those nights. Now we, as Dan said, perform above that typically, but even at 20%, that would be 3 nights. So it worked out nicely for the math. Our average daily rate or our nightly price for those nights was $100 per night. We took that 5-night booking at $72 per night. So $350 a change. And so that was important, and we were able to do that by using some length of stay discounts, which we can implement using Airbnb's rule sets that they allow us to manipulate. So again, we're coming out ahead, right? So if we were to book 2 of those days at $100 per night, that's only $200. Even if we come in above market at 60% occupancy, 3 of those nights, that's $300. We would need to have booked 4 of those nights to outperform what we did with this singular booking. And this is about 3 weeks out, so we have to recognize that $100 was going to continue to start coming down, right? So understanding all that, we were able to, again, manipulate. We don't realize how much we can influence our bookers, like what kind of bookings we get. For example, again, getting that 5-night booking, like that wasn't just coincidence that we got that instead of a 2-night booking Monday through Wednesday, because that 2-night booking was going to pay a lot more. We might have gotten it, and if we did, that's okay. We would adjust accordingly. But we knew what we wanted was to fill 100% occupancy. That's how we're going to optimize and maximize our revenue with those 5 days.
I love that. Yeah, one of the issues, like one of these, and you'll see it because it's one of the properties that I sent you guys, is my Milwaukee property. Friday to Monday, all the way across the board, Friday to Monday. And we're doing $1,200 a night, Friday to Monday, which is fantastic. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going vacant.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm curious about your thoughts about where's that fine line to, like you just said, you'd lower the price to get the longer booking, to get that occupancy higher. What's that fine line that you tweak or that you're playing with in terms of saying, okay, I'd rather take that lower price for the longer booking, more occupancy, higher revenue, or be okay with taking the vacancy during the week, but the really high rates on the weekend? Because there's also sort of a benefit to that. If you look at it in that perspective, less wear and tear on the property, right? Less use of the property. Although on the flip side, it might not be true because a $1,200 booking for 12 people could be really rough wear and tear on the property as well. So like, what's that fine line? Like, do you have any thoughts behind that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and that's another funny thing. Like you hear someone say, like, "Oh, I'm crushing it, right? I'm 100% occupancy." Well, that's probably not a good thing, exactly as you know. There's somewhere along the way, and we never really know the exact number, right? But there is an optimal, point balance between our average daily rate and our occupancy. And I think that's where we've really evolved and have gotten better at is playing that average daily rate game as much as we can, but especially as we're getting towards the end there, fill in the occupancy. The way I always have kind of looked at it is we can lose money by getting those average daily rates wrong by underpricing our nights. So we don't want to underprice those and lose money. But our best opportunity to make more money is with the occupancy usually. Like that's where we can fill those empty nights and just generate additional revenue. And so like to what you said, it is a fine line between making both of those things happen.
I know I'm taking over all the questions here, but I'm like super intrigued.
No, you did great.
Do a bunch of operations and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So there was a question I wanted to ask you around market specifics. So I know you can do all over the country, right? Do you do any homework prior to jumping into a specific market for like data analytics that you look at, like occupancy analytics that you look at? Like, for example, on Price Labs, I can now pull Market Maker. And I can pull that market and I know which properties are top performers with the 5 reviews. Like, I'm sure you've seen it. Yep. And I can kind of play with it and go, okay, my property looks like this. I can get to this level. I know what I'm going to be able to make. Now that you're in this business, in order to get to scale, you have to start kind of learning all these little different markets and kind of go granular with them, right? Mm-hmm. What are you doing around that specifically? Are you like in the weeds right now, kind of still learning how to look at the markets? Or you already kind of like know the markets? Like, how does that look?
Definitely always learning for sure. But a lot of people are using the Price Labs, the pricing algorithm side of it. You can also purchase market dashboards, which is that data insight. And a lot of people say, oh, I want the automated pricing. That market dashboard costs, I think, $10 extra a month.
$10 a month.
When they skip that, that's where the gold is right there. That's, again, where, I mean, the automated pricing is great. Don't get me wrong. Better that than nothing. But in order for you to step in and improve upon that, you need that market dashboard, and that's where I glean a lot of my information from. So if we have a call with someone, a lot of times we'll go ahead and just purchase that market dashboard so we can have some additional insight.
Yeah, we just pulled one in the Ozarks. Yeah. And the client we have is in the Ozarks. It's a really cool property. And it's pretty cool to kind of pull the data, see which ones are performing well, see what we think we could do for that income. And that, I think that probably is going to be really good property for him.
You hate to go and spend $10 on a call that might not turn into anything. At the same time, I want to show up and impress this person, right? Like when I start, I'm already talking about the market. Like that call, especially too, it was so funny. Like I started pulling up some listings and I was like, see, this one has, and this, and he's like, well, that's in the same complex as me. That one's, well, I know. That's why I'm showing it. Like, I almost want to say that, but
no, but I just think but knowing data, like you said, I know you're more qualitative, but when it comes to this, Mike hops right in on the quantitative and we get as much data, and we'll continue to invest in whatever tech we need to make sure that we're doing what's best for us and our clients. And, I think that's important. You want to give them the quick stat. I think this is very important. The 50%, the 50, 90%.
Pretty powerful. I was talking STRs for a subgroup of REI Central, actually. And again, just knowing that I was speaking to a lot of like traditional real estate investors who are curious about STRs, but I just wanted to kind of give them some of the pitfalls and help them understand STRs. And this was pretty crazy. Actually, this is a new software that I'm using, STR Insights as well. And so
I know the owner and the CEO.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love Kenny. Yeah. So I pulled up the Charleston market because that's who I was talking to, and honestly, this even blew my mind. So the 50th, if you have a STR in the Charleston market, and you're in the 50th percentile, that revenue was like $35,000, $36,000. If you were in the 90th percentile, it's like $137,000. Like that's the gap that exists between like everybody in the middle and then the top performers, and that's where we're at today with short-term rentals. Like I know there's a lot of headlines out there and doom and gloom and Airbnb bust and Airbnb stocks just went down, and this is all true, but like that's because the masses are struggling. The masses are not performing.
Not the professionals.
People at the top, they're doing really well.
Yeah. It's the product you're putting out there. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the Joshua Tree properties. Like we put almost $450,000 into those. Yeah. We want the product, and we want to be in the 90th percentile. The historic house we're talking about, the numbers that I told you, that's the 90th percentile, right? It's going from like, what was it, like 95K or something, or to 120 or something, to 165, 170. Like, well, we're talking almost $60,000, $70,000 difference here.
Yeah.
For just standing out in that little percentage. And it's funny, Scratch that. I was going to ask about the pricing, the Price Labs. It pops in my head again. the fry slabs. Have you messed around with the? Sorry, guys, we're taking over this conversation.
No, go.
You guys just kind of stay on
Yeah,
the
well,
side.
I'll step back.
We'll have a conversation. So, have you messed with like the new pricing on price slabs where you can do the market research for like properties now? Like, you know how it's like the Airbnb version.
Where you do like an analysis,
Correct.
property specific analysis. We have done that with a hand.
Dude, I love that thing.
It's nice. It stinks again to pay for every single one.
Yeah.
It's not something you can do at scale, like with the mass, it can get pricey.
Correct.
But it's really, and you can do the same thing again using that market dashboard without that tool, but it takes a lot longer. Like the tool just
100%.
So
Well, I bring this up because like in your guys' realm, it could be like a leg to the business where you can help people find cash flow properties with this tool, right? We'll just add on the cost to whatever you guys are going to charge for that. Because I found they give you, I think, 5 free searches or something. Like obviously I've kept them up. I get people call me all the time and I'm like, yeah, and it's like $10, $20. Next thing I know, I'm like $300 in for like other people. I'm like, all right, dude, we're stopping this.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I love you, but like, no, I'm not searching for you anymore, right? Or shoot me $20 or whatever it is. But the pricing thing it's kind of like nice, especially as now as we're advancing. Some of these tools just get better and better. Here's the beautiful part about Price Labs is they give you true data because, for example, AirDNA is scraping data from what Airbnb provides. They're not a pricing algorithm. They're like a scraping algorithm. So like AirDNA gives you what people have priced or whatever Airbnb is providing them. Price Labs is taking all the data from the hundreds of thousands of users, and it's saying, okay, we know this is what's being priced out because people are using this, and this is where we're at. Like we're not paying for the data. We're the ones providing the data, right? Yep. And so anyway, we can talk about this forever. I know we're getting to the top of the hour here, so you want to shift here? You got any final thoughts? What do you want to do?
No, I think we're probably going to do a second or third
100%
episode. Keep going deep on this.
Yep.
I love to geek out.
Yeah.
But no, we're coming towards the end. We've got the 3 questions we typically ask folks, and Rafa's got the first one.
Being that this is the big break show, we always want to ask, what is your big break? Like, do you guys have a defining moment, something that you consider your big break? Right? For me, it was short-term rentals. Like I wanted to buy real estate. I couldn't buy it. I found out about Airbnb and short-term rentals. Found out about arbitrage, so I can start with very little money and scaled it out, cash flow like crazy, and now you are right buying properties, investing in real estate. Like that was my big break. Do you guys have a defining moment that got you like old you to new you, or even just new you to better you? You know what I mean? Something around those lines.
I would say, there's a lot of little things in my life that kind of shifted where I go, but I think one of the most defining moments was when 2021, I was doing pretty good in real estate sales and starting to invest. I was doing all right. I think I had made we'll say $200,000, somewhere in that range. And I had set a goal to make $500,000. And I hired Kelly as my coach. Yeah. And I told her my goal. She backtracked it. We did this whole goal setting session. And I just remember by July of that year, I'd hit my goal and ended up making about almost $800,000 that year. This by myself with a part-time helper starting off. And I was like, wow, I could do it. It gave me confidence. It gave me, wow, I can do this. And I'm not saying there's no brag here. It was just like, wow, I believed in myself, and it came to fruition because I set goals, very attainable, achievable, and specific goals. Yeah. And I was able to break through that barrier. And then I think from then on, I had believed in myself, but that's when I really believed. I was like, wow, with the right mentorship, the right people, I know I can do this. Mm-hmm. So I love that.
Yeah, I wish I could get more creative and not reference short-term rentals. And I know I already did a little bit, but yeah, I would have to say it was that decision to, when we moved out of our Mount Pleasant house, rather than just go the easy route and just rent it out long-term, to go short-term with it at a time, again, when not many people were doing that. Because again, it's just that, I think, versus just doing it as a long-term rental, really like opened my eyes to like, wow, like I can make a lot of money here. And then I'll even like pivot off of that. Like, so that was kind of the first one that got me investing more while I was still with the fire department. And then again, when I left the fire department, that moment when I started asking those questions of my then property manager and took it over. I didn't share this, but it's been just over 1 full year, and their gross revenue, their final year was like 58,000, and we're now approaching like almost 90,000 year over year. So, and I didn't go in and like renovate the property. I spent a couple $1,000s on sprucing it up. It was truly just revenue management, just marketing it better, being aware of my pricing, caring about trying to, again, book out every single possible day of that calendar within reason. So yeah, and that's, again, I'll share this too. Like, my personal journey right now is now taking a lot of my short-term rentals, which admittedly were kind of just properties that I had that I said, hey, let's try this, and have achieved a certain level of success with them, some more than others. Now I'm very focused on repositioning those. I've seen the power of good overall management, but certainly especially the revenue management. And I kind of likened this to someone the other day. Like, I'm kind of tired of playing in the minor leagues, right? Like with these properties, and I'm like, the talent that I have and what I've proven myself I can do, it's time to go to the big leagues. Like, I want to step it up, and I've seen that again, like with my Mount Pleasant property being that one prime property. Like, what a difference can be made, and how much money can be made.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
So the next one is, what is the best advice that you've ever received?
Do you want to go first? Go for it, yeah.
I'll go with this one. This is really good. It's a couple of years ago, and it didn't really lead to anything specific, but I had a property, and I was just looking at all these different. It had some commercial zoning and stuff and opportunities, and like just one person I was talking to, and they said, like, well, I always just like to sit back and like figure out what is the path of least resistance. Like, it's one thing to be creative and come up with all these ideas and stuff, but it can be so powerful. Like, am I overthinking this? Like, sometimes just that path of least resistance allows you to just keep flowing and doing things. Mm-hmm. And I probably need to remember it more. I'm glad I'm reminding myself of it now. But yeah, I like that one.
Cool.
Yeah, mine would be from the those breakfast meetups came from Danny Randazzo. Give him a shout out here. He had told me never to listen to opinions or advice from someone that hasn't done what you're trying to do. Yeah. And it sounds like basic information, but wow, is that powerful. I mean, how many times do you go and get advice from your parents if you should go out on your own and be an entrepreneur versus a job, and they've worked the W-2 their whole life? Yeah. Or it doesn't, especially family. I bring up family because family and close friends are probably the first to give you advice and opinions on stuff that they haven't done or are scared to do. Not intentionally. They probably good people. They just do. So it made me realize, hey, maybe I should stop talking to people who haven't done what I want to do, and I talk to people who have done what I want to do. Yeah. And it's just a different light. They don't give you all the excuses why you can't do it. They might tell you the hurdles, but they'll tell you how you can achieve it. And it's amazing.
They're the opposite. They're like, dude, why aren't you doing this?
We just went over this the other day. Literally, I just had this conversation like yesterday or something like that. Like, a friend of ours wants to get into short-term rentals, and their friend came in and was like, don't do it. You want to do long-term, right? Like, Lorena knows, she's back in the background. They were listening. It's funny. And I was like, has your friend ever done short-term rentals? No, they're a long-term guy. I was like, why are you taking advice from someone who has no idea what advice they're going to give you? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, you're calling me because you know that I know what I'm doing. We've ran your numbers 5 freaking times. Like, do you trust me? Do you know what we should be doing? Why are you listening to the guy that doesn't know what they're doing, right? And it's like, so many people put fear and doubt into other people's heads because of what they think and what they know, and they don't mean nothing wrong by it, right? Yeah. They might mean well by saying, hey, listen, I might think it's wrong, but like, you should be the responsible person and say, hey, do I take that advice or don't take that advice? Odds are you probably shouldn't take the advice. You'd be stuck. Like, I gave you the perfect example. I was like, had I listened to all the people that told me to not get into short-term rentals right now, you think, you'd be where I'd be right now? Like, I'd probably still be working somewhere at a call center or some shit. I don't know, right? Because I used to do calls before. Yeah. Anyway, guys, this is great. So give the listeners and viewers a actionable step that they can take immediately after ending. If they were to say, I'm done with this, what's the step that they can take to go do whatever you guys want to offer in terms of like mindset coaching, revenue management, something based around the conversation?
Do you want to go first? Or want me to go?
Yeah, you need some time.
You need a little time. Yeah, go.
A little bit STR revenue management, but I want to broaden it. Like, we're always trying to grow, right? We're always looking for new opportunities and trying to do new things. But take the time, whatever it is, to look at what you have and to optimize and maximize that. Whether it could be long-term rentals too. Like, I have long-term rental properties as well. And, I'm so busy with the short-term stuff that I have property managers for the long-term stuff. But once in a while, I'm like, shoot, I could be switching from this provider to this provider or landscaping and like save a couple $100 and everything adds up, right? So like, yeah, just look at what you do have, and whether it's short-term rentals, whether it's long-term rentals, whether it's your business, make the most of it. Like take time to optimize it and start from within. It kind of goes in line with like the path of least resistance, right? Like, I mean, always be going out striving to do more and achieve more. Sometimes the path of least resistance is just the small changes within what you're already doing or what you already have.
I love that.
All right, I'm not going to go business. I'm going to go more personal here because that's important to me. The whole reason why we do this is hopefully for something, either family or time or experiences. I remember seeing this on Instagram. It was very powerful. It was a toddler, and I have a 2.5-year-old, almost 3-year-old, so I'm going through this, acting out or doing something. And the advice was, imagine you're 80 years old right now, and you just went back in time for this one moment back with your kid. Would you snap at them? Would you yell at them for being, or would you appreciate the fact, would you appreciate the fact that you're spending that moment with your kid?
Yeah.
And that was just so powerful to me of like, I try to imagine myself do this. Imagine yourself in your deathbed or when you're older and you wish you could have this time back in your life. What would you do differently? Would you go for it? Would you take the chances? I bet you the answer is absolutely yes. Whatever that chance is. I'm not saying everybody should quit their jobs and be an entrepreneur because it's hard as shit to be an entrepreneur. But what I'm saying is whatever that happiness is it a trip that you're delaying on taking? Is it you're snapping at your kids because you're so stressed out at work and you should just, make a little less money and go do something that doesn't make you so short at home? Is it, taking your wife out for more dates and, you're pushing that off because you're just trying to make money and you're just pushing your family aside? Just picture yourself older, being back in this moment for that one time. And what would you do differently if that was the case? And if you could stop yourself as much as possible and think like that, it's helped me out a lot, be just a better person and really live in the moment.
I love that. Man. That is so good. I appreciate you guys sharing that stuff. Yeah. Well, any final thoughts, my friend? I know I took over, so
I appreciate that. Yeah.
No, we appreciate that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, thank you guys for taking the time to sit down with us today, and we really appreciate it. And how can the listeners and viewers catch up with you guys or make contact or follow you on social media?
I'd say if you guys want to follow me, I'd love to follow. Instagram or Facebook is DanRivers_RCG. But more importantly, if you want us to just do a quick deep dive over your short-term rental, take a look at it, take a look at your numbers. You can go to synergystayslocal.com, synergystayslocal.com. Reach out to us, and we're happy to just see if we can help maximize your revenue.
Dig it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Appreciate it, guys.
Guys, this was a fantastic conversation. We could go on another hour, so we appreciate you for being here.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
See you guys on the
Thank you
next one.
guys.